Sup?
Hey, people. Sorry about last week. We just decided to, I don't know, take a break.
Yeah, it was funny. Well, Friday we got off work Friday. I was like, excuse me. I was like, yeah, I'll call Zach later. I was like, we'll get it going, and I didn't. And Saturday I got here. I was like, well, it's really nice how we went and did.
Well, Friday I had that dinner.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So Saturday I was like, we'll do it in the evening. So it got like 4:00, and I was outside. It was like 4:30. I was like, I'll do that. And then I was like, I'm not gonna call him. He didn't call him. Maybe he doesn't want. Maybe he's doing. Maybe he's ready time. Maybe he's on video games.
I was seriously like fucking around the house doing nothing. I was like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, and then I saw you post pictures where you were like Honeysuckle Hill or whatever with the family doing fall shit, and I was like, he's busy. Obviously,
that's when we go out to pretend to be families during the fall.
Right, exactly. You gotta get them social media posts so that everybody knows that you're a happy.
I was
family.
in a pumpkin patch and like I was flowers.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So yeah, then Sunday rolled around. I was like, I think maybe we just need a break.
Right. I assumed you probably thought like, that's Sunday. He's watching football.
That's what I thought too. And then I was like, probably with the Henderson crew. I was like, it's not a big deal.
Right.
So we're back now.
Yeah. So. The Monday rolled around and I actually took off. Did I take off? I did take off.
Yeah, you did.
I took off Monday for no other reason.
I called you and gave you shit about it.
Yeah. And then, we just kind of just skipped it. It was just kind of, I don't know.
I mean,
weird.
We've only done that twice out of 20. It's now 23 episodes. So I think every now and then it's nice.
But this time it was just pure
just laziness.
Pure laziness.
I'm not going to lie. I
was out of town.
The whole time of the weekend, I was like, I need to record. And I was like, I don't really want to.
Fuck it.
Fuck my fans.
We are the worst podcasters of all time. I know. Sorry, all 50 of you out there that, and I did have a few people ask me. I was like, they were like, where pod?
It's weird too when you get that and you don't think of yourself as like a creator. Like I'll get a message like, what happened this morning? I'm like, everything's fine. What do you mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Where's my episode? I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. I have a separate family I have to take care of over online.
Yeah, it's starting to get to the point because we're 23 episodes deep today that I can kind of get the feeling of like obligation.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
I felt bad if I didn't
That's the reason I felt kind of bad about like missing it because I kept thinking about it throughout the weekend, but I figured you were busy and I was like, I guess we're just gonna skip, and the time kept ticking away, and I was like, I guess we're just gonna skip this.
I've been thinking. I thought about this a lot this weekend, which I didn't mention to you, and I probably should have, but I'm thinking about getting a separate recording system as well, a full USB, to where we can record outside. And do
we need to get a different setup
because this season for this weather I do like the fire pit. I have an outside area to do it more out in the weather. The elements.
Go digital.
Yeah, go digital.
Yeah, I agree.
Just for that particular platform. Like this is nice because obviously I don't want to do that when it's 2 degrees outside. But to have a satellite location to mix it up would be cool.
Yeah, something that I agree with you because I mean the mixer is fine, but that's more if we're like in a fucking band or some shit.
Right.
I think simplifying the setup makes sense.
Okay.
I think we'll do the same thing. I think that sounds good to me. And we need to, and also that would help if we can kind of simplify this and figure this out a little bit better. We can incorporate a third more often because I really enjoy having a third on.
I do too.
I think 3 is the sweet spot. That's a good number.
It's a wolf pack.
Yeah, sure. All right, Alan. I was a wolf pack of 1.
Yeah,
and then I met Doug, and we were 2.
And we knew we needed a third pup.
Right.
So we're looking for our third pup.
I kind of like just where it's not a constant third person. I mean, I honestly, if there was like a third person, we've talked about this before. Like, there's a guy we work with that would be perfect, but he's not.
I think if I get him in here one time, he'll be hooked.
I think he would too.
Because I think deep down he wants to come do it,
and he knows who he is.
He knows you know who you are.
But he's living his dream job, and
he tells
us that, and he doesn't want to
jeopardize his career,
jeopardize what he's got going on by speaking his mind.
To me, it just sounds like he's being a little bitch.
Right. Right. So one of these days, I think he would fit our vibe because, and I talked about this with him after you left for lunch or something like that day, and we were talking. I was like. Like Josh is always on this, like your energy, and we talked about this, was your energy is to expel the energy that you have it's physical. Like you got to be active doing something. You work out like every day. You do dirt bikes or mountain bikes or what. You got to do something physical. That's how you expel your energy.
Right.
And then I expel my energy generally by intellectual means, generally, right? Yeah. So we're very yin and yang when it comes to that.
I'm retarded. And you're smart.
But the downside of me being smart is I'm also weak and sloppy, right?
But full of knowledge.
But full of knowledge. That's what it is, right? That's what it is, right? But Crunk is kind of in the middle because he actually is in a better shape than I am.
Well, yeah, but probably not. But that's mostly right. Jolly Ranchers and Mountain Dew.
I suppose so. But and I did drop his name, so whatever. This is what we call him. But anyway, it's a nickname. But he's in better shape than I am. He actually takes care of himself much better than I do. I'll get there, whatever. Me. But he also is. He's not like super active as you.
Yeah,
you are. So he's like in the middle.
True Threes company,
right? And right, and also, and he's even on some like opinions, like say political, just for instance, or life experience or whatever you want to call it, is he's a lot more maybe moderate or a little left leaning on some stuff. So, but common sense. So it's like I think it would be a good mix.
I do need
be really good like in between.
Let's extend an invite to him. Because, we used to have 3.
Formally.
I think formally, because, he always says he's bored and at the house, and I'm not doing anything. Call me.
Yeah, dude.
Like, okay, well, this is a perfect opportunity. Come do a show.
Hang out with the boys, and we're going to record it.
Yeah, we're just going to bro it out.
Right.
So, we need to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Although, I do like the idea of having kind of a different third, kind of mix it in. So, maybe not like, it doesn't have to be, because it is a commitment. We decided when we started to do this, we were like, we're going to do this.
It's hard trying to convince a third.
It's hard to convince somebody to like...
trying to pull a third into our party, you know what I mean?
In all respects. It's hard to like convince to have a threesome.
We've been doing the same maneuver now, and I'd like to bring in something different.
Spice it up. Bring in somebody else.
Someone else to the show. Yeah.
Right.
So...
Yeah. So it's a kind of a commitment. I mean, obviously, there's no real high stakes here for us, but we decided that we were going to do this, and so it's every week we're going to commit to having some kind of
except last week.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So convincing somebody to be like, yeah, you're in this. Your voice is going to be recorded. It's going to be on the internet. Your opinion is going to be out there on the internet forever.
So to our listeners, look, sneak peek. We might have some more thirds.
We've had a couple already, and join in, and I kind of like that. I
do too.
Third. I think we need to do that more. But we have to, again, I'm a procrastinator real bad. And so I have to be a little bit more on the ball to try to like schedule that a little bit better.
That's fine. We'll get it.
You know what I mean? Although I have had a couple people say, if you want a third at any point, just let me know. I'll jump on.
Yeah, B's really excited. B wants to be on.
B. Oh, yeah, B, yeah.
B wants on.
I forgot about the
names. He wants to get
on.
Although
I end up actually saying his name is Brandon. I said it once.
Brandon wants to be on.
Already.
He's
gave up the game.
He needs to come on too. We need to have him on for
He would be a good, because he's really nerdy like we are.
Yeah.
So he can get really nerd out and good sense of humor.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Well, that's something to look forward to on our show. Stay tuned.
All right. I feel like I'm singling out. All my other friends are good too.
Other friends too. If anyone, I've offered this before too. If someone else shows interest,
anybody else
would like to be on the show, if there's a particular topic, you're like, hey, you guys have never mentioned this, let me come on and do it. Even if it's just like a 5 to 10 minute phone call, you can jump on. Like, we're not.
Right. Just because I didn't specifically name you right now doesn't mean that you're not worthy.
If we don't think it's good fit, no, you won't come on the show. Sorry.
Right. And I'll tell you to your face. But like, nah,
that's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah, so there's that.
Yeah. So speaking of media in general, we both did a thing this week.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Started yesterday.
Without realizing, we didn't plan this ahead of time, but we both kind of came to the realization. I don't really know what the catalyst was. I mean, you had a catalyst, but I don't really know what mine was. It was just, I think I just finally had enough.
We mentioned it last week because remember when we were kind of talking shit back and forth to one another, like about scrolling. And I was like, I'm going to quit cold turkey, and you're like, yeah, I could do it, no big deal. And I'm like, it's not as easy as you think it is.
Maybe so. Maybe that was in the back of my mind.
It was last week. We mentioned it briefly. Yeah.
Maybe that was in the back of my mind, and I didn't realize it. But I was just, I noticed I would get up in the morning and immediately jump on Instagram. Before I go to sleep, I'm on Instagram, and sometimes it ends up, pushing my bedtime later than it needs to be. Mm-hmm. And so I'm tired in the morning. Of course, I wake myself up. I'm on Instagram again. So it's like I take shit. I'm on Instagram.
It's like a part-time job.
If I have like a spare minute in between tasks, I like on Instagram. If I'm cooking, I'm on Instagram. If I'm watching like a TV show, and a boring part comes up, and I'm kind of like, no, whatever, or it's in between, like you're on Hulu or Netflix or something like that. Sure. It's going from one episode to the next. I'll jump on Instagram real quick while it's loading the next episode,
which is literally a minute.
And then sometimes I'm focused on what's happening on Instagram that I'll pause the show that I'm watching to scroll through Instagram mindlessly, and then before I know it, Instagram or my Fire Stick is like gone to sleep, and it's on the screensaver, and I have to like restart the show all over again because I've been scrolling on Instagram for an hour. You know what I mean? It's become a problem, and so I think Sunday was like, fuck this, and I just delete them all off of my homepage. Like I still have them on my phone because some of the groups that I'm in on these social media platforms is the only really method of communication that I have with some folks that are out of town.
Your situation's a little that makes sense.
So that's the only reason
those are pre-commitments.
Right. That's the only reason why I didn't delete them off my phone entirely. But just the fact that I moved them off my home, kind of out of the field of view, if you will, to where I don't have this instinct, and I'm also trying to be like cognizant of it, of not, if I have a spare minute, just go into the next thing that I need to do instead of like scrolling on Instagram.
Right.
So I never was really into Facebook anyway.
So you didn't have a trigger. You didn't have a trigger.
I was sitting there at home, and I was like 3 hours deep in a fucking scroll session. I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? I needed to do some shit today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mine, so I
finally had enough.
Mine was on the radar like yours was when we mentioned that day. And I had been telling myself, I was like, it's becoming a problem. Like it's a lot. Which, it's not social media obviously is a part of our platform. It's not a bad thing. It can be a great thing. But for me, I was like you said, it was just hours of my day. Like you get your screen time report weekly. Like
I've never looked at that.
Okay, don't.
It would scare me.
I did it, and I was like, this is like a fucking part-time job that I'm not getting paid for, and I'm really not getting out of it what I'm putting into it. Like it's not doing so.
It's not productive.
So I was like, okay. So last night, which these last 3 weeks, I've been binge watching an old TV show that I was the only one in the world who hasn't seen. We'll get to that in a second.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And last night it was in between episodes on Hulu, like you had said. It was like a skip intro or this happened before. I was like, okay. So I grabbed my phone, I was scrolling, and everyone, but if you've listened to this show, knows that I follow a certain circle of priests. I don't know what you want to call it, semi-celebs, whatever, a certain palette of people. And I've clicked on someone's story just like you do. You just go into the stories. And it was a simple event that really most people would probably be like, it's not a big fucking deal, crybaby. But it like infuriated me. Like I was like on a jealous fit of rage. And I was just like, I need to remove myself from this because it's supposed to be, if you look at things like, that's really dope. That's cool. But like, I was fucking mad. Like I was like, so I told myself, I'm like, you need to get off this for a little while because it's not being positive in my life at all. So I deleted Facebook and Instagram off my phone. I have my accounts still.
Yeah.
But I removed them, deleted them off the phone because if I want it again, I have to go in, re-download it, re-log in. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do a bare minimum of a month. I even told Kylie that too, and she's like, I think it's probably a good thing because I will look at, and I know you only see the good. We've talked about this before. We only see the good of like, whether it be a company, a person, a sports team, whatever it is that you're looking at. And I was looking at all the stuff that they're doing, and I look at my day-to-day, which I'm not saying my life is shitty. I have a wonderful life. But, like, I see this, and I'm comparing it. Inadvertently, I'm like, well, that's fucking sucks that I'm doing this, and these guys are doing all this awesome shit. Mm-hmm. So then it dumbs me down. It puts me in a bad mood, and it shouldn't, but it does. And by accident, I compare myself. Like, what is my excuse? Well, I'm not doing that. Or why am I not in this circle? Or I start questioning, like, what could I do different? Like, it's bullshit, not fair, which is such a cop-out. Like, I shouldn't be saying that's not fair. Well, it is fair, idiot. Like, they're doing what they're doing, and you're doing what you're doing. Like, I walk this path, they walk that one. So when he got to that point last night, I was like, I need to step back for a little while and, like, refocus those hours a week that I'm wasting thumb scrolling for naught. Because my type of personality is very addictive, so I can't have Instagram and, like, check it once a day. Mm-hmm. I won't do it. I'll be on that bitch for hours a day. I won't be able to help it. Because, like you said, you don't even know you're grabbing it. It's something as simple as like
it's like
fixing.
Instinct.
It's like putting your hand through your beard, or like putting your hands through your hair, or your mustache. You know what I mean? Anything. It's the same. Scratching your ass. It's the same thing. You don't know you're doing it.
Right.
So I'll look and scroll, and then like I'll get my screen report, and it's like you're up 75%, 6-7 hours of last week. I'm like, fuck.
I know. Well, it was like when I first did the next day, like that Monday, whenever I was off, and I had already deleted the apps off my home screen. And I just, I was like, the only time I'm going to pull it up is if someone sends me something in these groups that I'm in, and they're just, it's a messaging app at that point. It's like a text message. That's how I was treating it. If they send me a video, I'll watch the video, but then that's it, and I'm out. Right? I'm not going to go through people's reels. I'm not going to scroll through the feed. I'm just not going to do it. So I did it. I did that on Monday. Of course, had lulls in my day. Whatever I was doing in between tasks, and then it was like I still had the motion. Like I grabbed my phone and I was like, I had it in my hand. I was like, and the app wasn't there, and I was like, oh wait, yeah, fuck. It was like an instinct. Like it's like I was like, wow,
it's muscle memory.
I guess I'll just scratch my balls. It was a weird kind of out of body experience almost, where I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself.
It's muscle memory at this point, and I don't think we really think about it. And I speak from firsthand experience. I know you do too. It's like you don't think how much you're on it.
Oh yeah,
and also like how it's not benefiting me in any way. Now, granted, there's some great people I talk to on a weekly basis on there, like that use it more than I do and have a bigger following. But it just kind of left me bitter at times because I'd be questioning like, what am I doing? Like you brought it up earlier, like if you follow a successful podcast, not take anything away from their show, but if you start questioning what you're doing, even though we might be doing it just fine, like it just takes time. Yeah. But I'll be like bashing the own shit I'm doing.
Right,
because theirs is more successful than mine.
It's like the if you're following on Instagram or wherever social media you're on, and you're following these like kind of successful people, and you're kind of either you're just fascinated by them or you're trying to emulate them or whatever it is. The thing is like they're successful because they are not on social media scrolling through your shit. They're focusing on their own thing. Right. You know what I mean? Even if I keep thinking about. There's certain celebrities that I've seen interviews of, and Miles Teller comes to mind because he's our age, right? Mm-hmm. He's a millennial, and he's kind of he seems like a he's a savvy kind of dude. He's not a weird kind of like Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller's a fucking weird freak,
like a thespian.
He seems like a normal kind of dude. Yeah, normal kind of dude that's kind of an everyman. You know what I mean? And he doesn't have any social media at all. Period. None. But he is on social media because his wife posts stuff. Right, so if you want to follow Miles Teller, you have to follow her to be able to get glimpses of him or whatever.
Sure,
of whatever the fuck he's doing. And he was just like, "Yeah, I'm just not into social media." And I was like, "It's kind of interesting that a celebrity who's his career and he makes his money by being on screen, doing interviews, which get passed around social media all over the place." Doesn't have social media, and I'm like, it's because he is focused on what he's doing, even if what he's doing gets put on social media and blasted all over the place. Yeah. So I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, what if I just like stop focusing on what's happening out there in social media land and just focus on what I fucking need to do, and then I can still put it on social media and then just let it do its thing.
Well, it's like Cillian Murphy. For Peaky Blinders.
Him too.
He's on social media.
He's the same thing.
Ewan McGregor is also his family. They live very separate off that. I don't want to go in the weeds too far on celebrities.
But they're on social media because we see them.
But do you think
they're not actively like scrolling in it? Is what I'm saying.
On the subject of Miles Teller, do you think maybe if you were in that spotlight, if you will, screen and like interviews, do you think you would be less like wanting to be on social media? Like it would make sense not to be on it, right? Because you'd be in it. You'd be living in it. Well, and not have to be on.
Well, I think there's some of them that do it because it's like because they understand that they have a career that they're trying to protect and build, and if they're on social media, they may fuck up. You know what I'm saying? The
Temptation
whole cancel culture thing is a real
yeah.
thing, and they're afraid if they they say something, so their remedy for that is just not be on social media. Then you don't have to worry about being quote canceled.
Well, and
or
it's
saying
also
the wrong thing. So some of them are actively doing that, but I think some of them are just. They're so focused on their own thing that social media just doesn't interest them.
Well, not only that, it's when you said that they're so focused on their career and screen time as far as film, television. I bet also it's probably another secondary commitment that if when you take the plunge, like if Miles Teller right now decided to get an Instagram, I mean you're talking about a massive undertaking.
Oh yeah,
and he would probably feel obligated to those fans, people on there, to do something with it, and it would become just another job. Like
maybe
to me, that'd be overwhelming.
There's some celebrities that I follow on Instagram that the only time they really post is they post the odd, day in their life kind of thing, like they're on a vacation or something. But mostly it's promotional stuff for whatever they're doing.
Correct. It's free ad for their film. They're on
I mean?
whatever,
So I think sometimes, I think maybe some of them get into it. Like I said, I think there's different types. There's some that avoid it actively because they're afraid they're going to say something. They would be on it, but the current climate, they're just like, I just rather not. It's safer.
I agree.
And then there's some that just like, just interests me. I'm focused on my own shit. I really don't give a fuck about that. I think that's Miles Teller. And then there's other ones that they have it because someone set them up an account. They're kind of like, you should get on Twitter. And it's like, I don't really know. And they get on Twitter and they post every once in a while, but they're not really that interested into it. I think there's some of those too. Right, and then of course there's some celebrities that they just can't. They're tweeting and they're constantly, and they're doing it because they're trying to promote their stuff. Or I think they're human beings too, and so they get into the social media trap. We're not saying anything new. Everyone knows what we're talking about. And we're not doing anything new by purging ourselves of social media. So this is not new, but I just think that it's I've thought before it's like, oh, that social media doesn't manipulate me. That's not going to get me, but it does. It can get anybody. And before you know it, when social media first came out and I first got on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it was a fun little thing you kind of did, but something happens where it's just like before you're checking it like at night for a little bit to see what's going on, and then you're done. Before you know it, you're checking it all the damn time.
Exactly.
And it just slowly built to that over years. And I think we both finally at the same time, oddly, got to the same breaking point where we're like, what the fuck?
I tried it before.
I'm done.
But I wasn't like committed. And I'm not, and like you said, I'm not doing this as like a flex. It's not like, I'm not doing this as like, therapy's cool because I'm in to some people. It's not like, it's because I'm just sharing why I'm doing it because someone else may listen and be like, that's actually a pretty good fucking idea.
Right.
Because for me, having a small family that I do at home too, like, you get home and my day to day, and I'm sure I know my friends who listen to the show that have children too the same way. It's like, it's fucking go time Monday through Thursday. Like it's on a schedule, homework, dinner. So what happened is like you get home, if you're not outside playing and stuff, like you get in and it might be she might be having bath time. Well, I could be more involved in that, get done fast, but it's where I'm like, oh, well, she's in the tub anyways. And there's 35 minutes go by, I'm on my phone fucking scrolling. And I don't remember what I looked at.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just little things that I'm like, and there'll be times that Kylie and I will be at home and we'll both be done for the evening. Like it's our time to kind of relax and decompress from the day. Or go to the gym or wash my truck at night like you make fun of me for doing.
4 a.m.
4 a.m. And we're just both on our phones. And I'm like, what the fuck? There's nothing. And she'll be like, anything good? I'm like, no. None of this is good.
Right.
Even unless the boys group will send something funny in. But that's still, it's nothing. Like, I just don't.
Right.
It felt like a keychain. And I just need a break.
And I think, oddly enough, I see half this stuff that I read about is from social media, and then I click the link and dive deeper into the article or watch a YouTube video or read a book or whatever. But usually the catalyst for finding out some of this information is I see someone on Instagram, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, then I'll dive deeper into it. But they've talked about how social media it fucks with our brains because we are not, when you talk about like you don't even remember what you
I don't. You're very complacent when I do it.
It's because you keep getting stimulation, and it's like you're getting like adrenaline hits or like a drug hits. Like you'll see like a cat video, and then someone doing something cool, and then you see like, oh look, there's a hot chick, and then it's just like constant bam, 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 hitting you in the brain over and over and over and over again. To where I think now we're like we have to detox. We've overdosed, and it's not like neither one of us was like, well, we need to focus on improving our lives and our mental health. What can I do? Social media. It's not. No, we finally just said,
I'm not a freak.
I'm fucking done. We just actually had like a moment of breaking, and we were like, I'm done.
And mine triggered just like I said of anger, which is usually how I do things. It's anger, but it's and like you said it best too, right there. Like it's ins and flows of what I'm looking at. Like it'll be guns, trucks, motorcycles, women, tattoos,
it's so chaotic.
And then some family sprinkled in there. Right. Like it's nothing really tangible. It's just like shit. It's all desired things and temptation things. It's nothing.
It comes and goes. It's in for 5 seconds. I see it and then it's gone. It disappears. I get that little hit in my brain and then that's over.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I fucking love Instagram. It's awesome. I've done and met some cool folks using that as a medium for it. Right. So I'm going to go back to it, obviously, but I'm going to step back, like you said. It's basically like I'm about to OD on. I need to back out.
Yeah, right. Now I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
I've done purges of a certain type before.
Okay.
So on Instagram, where I'm following all these accounts. Sometimes it's almost like when you're doing like a porn purge. Where sometimes you're like, I'm watching way too much. I need to back off.
I haven't. That has. Speaking of me, I've never done a pornographic. I know we always go to porn,
but it's very similar.
But it's something to compare to. Yeah, I've never had to do that. I've had to. I will say I've had to do this. Not so much recently, but years ago. Mm-hmm. Like when Kylie and I probably first started dating and stuff, I was like, I need to probably because being a male, like you're going to follow attractive women. It's awesome. Sorry.
It's so easy.
It's easy. And attractive people make everything better. So I look on there and I was like, and I don't know anything about anything about it. So I would go through, I'll do a purge of unfollowing accounts that I don't need.
That's what I was getting at. Sometimes I'll go through, I'm scrolling and I'm like, I follow so many goddamn thoughts. I got to purge some of them. It's just too much.
What is
that hoe over there is
that hoe? Okay,
is technically the acronym for thought. That hoe. Over
I think Megan
there.
Thee Stallion has a song about that. I listened to in the gym.
Yeah, I can't remember the origin. It is a rapper, I believe, come up with it. But
it's okay.
I couldn't remember the origin exactly. But
yeah, same thing. That I've done I have done a purge.
Too many Insta thoughts, and I'm just like. And I'll purge them, and then sure enough, maybe like 6 months later, I'll come across like their account again. I'm like, oh, I don't follow this person. I follow, and I'm back on them again. So I think before was doing this social media purge entirely. I've got it crafted down to only certain ones that I'm just like, okay, no more. I'm good. This is my stable, if you will, of Insta thoughts.
Yeah.
That are super attractive. They have cool videos. Actually, half the time they're actually like doing something that not just standing there shaking their ass. They're actually doing something like golfing, or one's a race car driver and other stuff.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
and one shoots a bow, like Hannah Barrett. Is that her name?
Yeah,
the
like she's like chick. Fishes and shit. She goes.
She's super
noodling.
attractive,
right?
But she does cool hobbies,
right?
Obviously, that's not why I follow her. She's really attractive.
She's super hot,
and and it's funny as I was scrolling the other day before I started my anger purge was Kai was next to me and she's like, who's that? And I was just, you just like I say, and I was like, I don't know, it's some girl. And I went back and it was just a woman in little shorts shooting a bow. And she's like, that's all she does. I said, honey, at this point, you could go outside right now with no pants on and throw a towel on the driveway and people will watch it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's
right.
That's what we like.
I know, and I may go off on a tangent here, but we've talked about this before. There is no life fucking easier than an attractive woman. I don't care what.
I don't care anybody says.
I don't care what anybody says.
Same with a man.
Everybody has everyone has problems, sure.
Same with an attractive dude.
There are problems that you just don't have to deal with, or that you can solve a lot easier. Whenever you're an attractive person,
it depends on. So the other,
we just live in that society. It is what it is.
The argument that someone could poke back at you would be, well, I don't want to do those things. I'm like, okay, well, either way, it comes down to how much shame do you have?
That's true. But you still, the thing is like you have that option. I don't have that option. That's an option I do not have.
I could start an OnlyFans. I'm sure. I'm not saying I'm like some stud. I don't. For all my people who think I'm egotistical and a dick. I'm not saying I could purely on my looks. I'm just saying I think that any of us, because there's a peg for every hole.
Yeah, there is money to be made on the internet if you have no shame.
If you have no shame. So, 100%. And everyone has a taste of cake that they like. So it's true. Like, so even if someone's like, I don't think I could do that, motherfucker, you could.
Yeah.
Because there's someone out there that would find, they would. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Right.
So hell, Kylie's made jokes to me about starting one, but, and I'm like, I just don't
even if you don't talk about OnlyFans, but you just talk about like, say, there will be, if you're a very attractive female, right, very attractive woman, you can find a guy that will straight up take care of you.
Yes,
100%. You could, if you were willing to do that, and that's how you want to live your life. You don't want to work, and you just wanted to, just whatever, do your own thing,
stay beautiful.
You can find that. It's not quite the same. You can't do that even as an attractive dude. If you're a super attractive dude, you're not really finding.
When I brought up
it's hard because men and women are different.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get on a tangent on that, but attractive women have the easiest life.
Well, we've mentioned when I mentioned attractive guys, like I follow some dudes that are pretty muscle bound, like they do fitness pages and stuff. And like one guy chops wood and does a small fitness page. I mean, he's not a monster, but he gets 600,000-700,000 views because he's outside in his backyard with a shirt off and suspenders, chopping wood. Like, I mean, that's what he does.
It's so stupid.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's doing, and somebody asked him, like, he said, I recorded what I'm already doing.
Right.
I mean, that'd be like me shaving my head in the mirror out of the shower. Like, you can't see anything. Like, my shirt's off. I'm shaving my head, listening to music. Like, I could literally just black and white record that, and there'd be at least a dude, woman, somebody would watch me do that.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that. He's like, I'm just recording what I'm already doing. We are literally doing the same thing, but maybe that's our problem. Is we need to take our shirts off.
We take our shirts off. But we're not on video.
Nobody wants to see my shirt
But we're
off,
not on camera.
Right.
Which makes it better. Like, well, you don't sound different with your shirt off.
Right, exactly. I did have somebody, though, that follows the pod, and I know them outside of the pod, too, as we've talked. And they were like, yeah, you don't look like you sound.
Really?
So when they finally they saw my Instagram and they whatever, and they were like, yeah, I did not picture that at all. Whatever. Actually, I think it was also somebody that I game with too. So they've heard my voice over online before, and then I have the podcast, and of course, obviously, the quality on that we got here is better than online on my mic, right, on my headset. So, but he ended up saying that I look totally different in a good way though. I guess my voice, the way my voice is, I think assumed that I was like some like ogre-like creature or something. I don't know, like I was gross looking or something.
That's cool though. Like you have a voice for radio. Is that what he's trying to think?
Yeah, I have a face for radio. That's right. That's what he.
That's right. Excuse me.
I think that's what he.
That's cool.
What
though.
he assumed. Then he saw what I looked like. He's like, oh no.
And it was a dude, so it was honest.
Correct.
Men are more honest amongst men.
Right. Well, it was a gay dude too, so it was like.
So even better. That's flattering.
Those are the best compliments.
Either way, it's still flattering.
I would rather get a compliment from. I'm going to say something super gay.
You've been with a lot more dudes.
I know. So. I've been with a lot more dudes than her. I would rather get I wouldn't say I'd rather.
But you can say it. I know exactly what you're going
to... I think it means more coming from a gay dude than a straight woman, because women are just nice in general. And so they'll say nice things just to be nice, because they want people to like them in general. In general, there's some bitches out there, and not everybody is like this the same. I get that. But in general, women are cordial and nice, and they want people to like them, so they'll give people compliments. They're giving each other compliments all the time, even though like stabbing each other in the back. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So they do that. So when a gay dude says it, it's fucking true.
Yeah, I've got hit on by a gay guy before once, and it was extremely flattering.
Yeah,
it wasn't like threatening. I'm not saying that. I'm not a homophobe or anything, but I was like, oh, did you hear that? I was like, honey, did you hear what he just said to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it felt real. It's the same thing when you're at the gym and like your boy, like you ask your friend like straight up, like, he'd be like, "You're looking pretty. You're looking pretty leaned out today." Like I'll take that more to heart than if a woman does it.
It's funny though. So like if one of your boys gives you a compliment, be like, "Man, you working out your arms, man? They look pretty good." Be like, "What do you want to fuck me?" You know what I'm saying? But if a gay dude says it, who's literally might be attracted to you, if they give you the same compliment, be like, "Oh, thanks, man."
But if truthfully, one of my bros did say it, I'd be like, I'd goof around a little bit. Then as soon as I got in the truck, I'd be like, he really meant that shit. Like I would really take that on my sleeve with me outside. You can't help it. So I mentioned
we're so starved for compliments.
Yeah, dude,
we'll even take it from dudes.
I mentioned that today when I was. I mentioned that today. I was in the warehouse at work, and somebody made a comment about gay. Somebody was like, "I'm the straightest gay dude ever," and I was like, "Yeah, dude, everybody's a little bit gay." I said, "I miss bro hugs from my buddies. There's nothing like just like my old job." My old job, I used to have like we'd be in the middle of it. Like for example, we were at an intersection on Providence. This is the middle of I don't forget which one it was. Right before you get to Cunningham, whatever, here or there. But I was sitting out there in the middle of a four traffic big intersection, and I got out, and one of them was like, "What's wrong with you? You seem upset." And I was like, "No, I'm good, man." He was like, "Come on." He's like, "Bring it in. Just come here real quick." So we were hugging in the middle of an intersection, dressed in our full work clothes, like get us boots and all, blue collar look, and there is people everywhere, and we're hugging it out. And I was like, I do feel better.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. The last time I had a bro hug was...
Bro hugs are needed every now and then.
Well,
my wife's a hugger, but I'm not a hugger. Like
I am not.
I mean, I'm not I'm not made of stone, but like, I mean, I cried in the last episode of Lost.
Yeah, you're like a Nicholas Sparks fanboy.
I'm a huge rom-com guy, but like, sometimes you just like I said, bro hugs would happen often, but every now and then you need a bro hug.
Well, see, I'm very I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for this. I need to go speak to a therapist, but I don't like people to touch me. I don't like to touch.
I don't think you just haven't been touched in a while.
Shut up. I was just about to say, unless you're a naked woman, then I'm like, touch me all day.
Don't stop touching me.
Don't stop. Continue touching me forever. But, yeah, ass. But I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the. So the last time I probably had like a bro hug was when I was hammered in the middle of Bill Street.
Crying.
And my buddy was hugging me.
But you needed that bro hug.
But I needed the hug.
The only other time I think I had like a real weekend.
But I was hammered. I mean, that's different. I've never had like a. I don't think we've ever bro hugged.
We've never bro hugged. We've high fived.
We may have done like a daps and bring it in real quick. Maybe I don't even know if we've done that.
I wanted to hug you at the strip club in Vegas.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I did want to, and that's just for pure joy.
Right.
I wanted to crawl on your shoulder.
I was your guide. Right. You were grateful.
But I think the last other one I had like a true bro hug. Besides like my brother, I've hugged my brother before, like at my wedding and stuff. But Garrett,
yeah, family's a different.
Garrett bro hugged me one night when we were at that boot camp for a week, and like we got smoked in the middle of the night. And they end up telling us like these sad stories about because it was a police thing. Like they end up telling us like partners that got one of them die, like in this whole thing, and like this whole sacrifice thing with your group. And it was real late. We've been up for like 12, 13 hours, and like it was just an emotional thing. And like Garrett ended up seeing me like across the field we were running in, and like just like bro hugged it out with me real quick to like that bond. I was like, oh, that's like probably the last time I had like a genuine non-family bro hug.
Right. Then you got a boner.
And then I got a huge, massive, sweaty erection. So it's not a big deal.
Sweaty.
Yeah. Well, we did some PT.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's like all weird. It's like an old musty ship coming to port.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know. I think the reason why I don't really do a whole lot of bro hugs. I already know the reason why. It's because growing up, my dad was not the most affectionate when it comes to that kind of thing. Like whenever I hear you and your dad talking, and you're like in the phone, you're like you both say "I love you," and I'm like. I cringe.
Yeah, which is funny to me because I'll be in the grocery store and be like, all right, I'll be like, later, dude, love you. And they're like, gay? I'm like,
right.
I'm like,
it's
yeah,
my dad.
It's my dad. Like, and I do it to Jacob. Like, we always do. Like, we've been doing that since, somebody could tell. That's the family. We just do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's always interjected. Like, always.
I even feel awkward. Honestly, that's just not even, that's, as a sign off or saying bye, honestly, maybe this probably I do need to go to therapy for. The word I love, the phrase I love you is just not something I like to say.
Is it easier for you to say love you than I love you?
Yes.
Okay, that's because it's the I in the beginning.
It's the informal
shows
part of it.
More commitment.
Correct. It's more forceful.
Yeah. Okay.
And
we're getting somewhere now.
Or I just like, I love you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Or even
it's informal.
Even my mom would be like, all right, she, being a mom, has got to say it every time. I got to love you. She's awesome. I'm not saying I wasn't like I was beaten as a child, putting the joke.
No. Well, you were homeschooled.
I was living under the stairs.
You were homeschooled. So.
But that's not what I'm saying. Parents are great. I'm just saying, not the most. My mom was. My dad, not the most affectionate bunch. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody's different. But I think that's just the reason why I'm not just throwing "I love you" out. I love you out everywhere.
And someone that, and you're not the only one that's ever noticed.
So when I say it, I fucking mean it.
Yeah, and I've had someone else question me on that too, and been like, every time I'm like, yeah, I said, do I mean it? Absolutely, every time I say it. Is sometimes I say, is it more heartfelt, like more? Yeah, because at times it's like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like it's quick. Like, all right, love you, see you, bye.
Right.
Like, but I do every time. Like it's so. I'll probably do it forever, always. Like I do it with my own daughter.
I'll say that probably the only two situations to where I really fucking mean it, where it just, and I'll say it like over and over again, and it just keeps coming out, is I'm on top of a woman. Sometimes that's happened before, where I'm just like, usually alcohol is always involved. Right,
so
alcohol's super involved. I'm in the middle of having sex with somebody, and I'm just like really into it, and I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? And I've said it before in that instance with a girlfriend. I'm talking about a random fucking person.
No, I understand.
With a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right. And when I was dating, I had a girlfriend at the time. You say it, but it still didn't have the same forcefulness as whenever we're like really intimate, and it's just you're just in that. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? Like you're in that kind of.
Yes.
You kind of lose yourself together.
Well, yeah, especially if you're in
and I say that
an intimate setting, like you're true, and this is going to sound
and not just sex, but just whenever you're having an intimate moment,
yes,
not just sex wise, and you're just really in,
yes.
The whole world melts away,
yes.
and you say it. That's when it really fucking means something.
Yep.
I don't have kids, so I can't. I
this
imagine
is your Nicholas Sparks moment. I love this. Right? I'm feeding off.
I'm
your
actually
energy.
like expressing emotion.
Your hair's getting longer.
Right.
Keep going.
I'm growing a beard.
Keep going.
And then the other time is hammered, hanging out with the bros, and I'm just having a fucking blast. I'm like, I love you guys.
Yeah, so
that whole thing.
You're two,
and I mean it.
Yeah,
I say it.
The two moments I think you're talking about is, and I can relate to both of these, is that, and you get these feelings like you've had this before, like where you're in that moment where you almost get a chill up your spine, where it's over, it's the endorphins and overstimulation of feelings, emotions. So like,
pops out.
I've of course, like in the feat of passion, like you will, of course, it's easier to express yourself because both of you are vulnerable in that time, and like you feel vulnerable yourself. Like it's the only time you feel like you don't have to be like uber masculine. Like you can actually like wear your heart a little bit out and be like, I'm gonna let this out because it feels more natural to do it in that setting. But the bro moment you're talking about with the boys, you're almost overly stimulated, excited that you're like, I can't say this in a normal setting, I have to say it now, or I can't say it.
There's no other way for me to express how much fun I'm having and how I'm grateful that you guys are my friends. Except it just comes out.
And it is.
I love you guys.
And you mean it because they say when you're drunk, your true self comes out.
Dude.
So, and it's funny. And I can actually, you're bringing all this lovey-dovey stuff up, which I like. Can't help it. That and Frisbee. I can remember the first time I ever actually said that to a woman.
You fucking Nancy.
I can actually remember that. The first time I ever said it.
Yeah, me too. And it, again, like I said,
it was terrifying.
I don't say it a lot, so whenever I say it, it really, and those are usually the most.
I think I'm going to start saying it to you on the phone.
I will fucking, no. I will lose my shit. I would be so, you can try it, but I'm not going to say it.
I think tomorrow at work, I'm going to try to see if I can hug people. Like, try it.
I don't know. You got to worry about that. You got to be careful with
But
these
no,
days.
just like people like, I want to like just like Nick or somebody, just randomly be like, what's going on, man? Like, hey, man, how you doing this morning? And just bring it in like, just to catch someone off, or do it to Mike.
Oh my God, he'd lose his shit. It would be so awkward. But
He's so good.
Well, the thing is, though, I have no problem doing semi-gay shit to my straight friends.
Oh, I don't bother
I'll
me a bit.
spank them on the ass or whatever. I'll fucking grab the titty. It doesn't matter.
I'll do whatever. I've had my shit grabbed so many times.
Hell yeah. Well, I've worked with people that are straight as an arrow, and they probably would never say I love you, but they would straight up grab my dick while I'm at work.
That's a big old dick on you.
A big old dick on you, grab it.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. That's a joke. I don't know. There's no emotion behind it. You're trying to make a joke.
But in going back to our social media thing as far as when this whole thing started, and speaking of emotion, like I think mine was triggered also because I was finishing up that show I started 3 weeks ago. So I was already had like tears in my eyes anyways from that show finale.
Oh yeah.
So like on top of that, compounding with that social media post that I saw that just infuriated me into a jealousy fit of rage, like all that just swirled into it.
Well, like you told me too, and I was not going to watch this fucking show mostly because of the political implications of it, but you got me into Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah,
and I started watching that because you were like, you got to watch it, it's awesome, and because your mom watched it and you started watching it.
Well, we you and I have probably
similar taste.
100% agreement on pretty much everything except for naps, working from home, and
some other things we just haven't documented all.
And like rom-coms.
Yeah, right.
Like stuff
Nicholas
like that.
Sparks
But as far as most film shows, we will at least give each other the benefit of the doubt and try those shows at least several episodes because purely on just because you
I trust your
it.
opinion.
I
know you're not going to give me something.
So Handmaid's Tale,
watch.
you actually got involved and liked it.
Well, the only thing sometimes like I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I've watched the movies and they're fine, but it's not something that I like fanboy over.
Right.
But you do to some degree, not like crazy, but. And so we just have a little bit of difference there, but it's not like you're never going to tell me to watch this and it's going to be fucking bad. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So I was like, okay, all right, I'll check it out. So I started watching Handmaid's Tale, and I was actively not watching that show because the left and people on the left that are like pro-abortion and all this kind of stuff, they would dress in those costumes and they kept making commentary about how the show was, very pro-left wing, anti-right wing, and anti-Christian, and all this other kind of stuff. And then the author of the book that it's based on is a uber feminist. So I was like, I believe all men and women are created equal and should have equal opportunity. But I'm not a feminist because that brings in a whole lot of other political stuff that I'm just not. I just don't agree with.
Yeah,
right?
It's a lot of.
I'm not. And what kills me about that, I don't want to get too crazy into this because it's not what the topic we were going to talk about today, but it bothers me when people say, "Oh, you're not a feminist." I'm like, yeah, because feminist is not just. I believe men and women are equal.
It's not.
It has all these other strings attached to it, so I don't like to use that term. It's the same reason why I don't like the Black Lives Matter thing is because there's so much. There's other things. It's not just that one thing.
Yes,
it's other things, and I don't agree with a lot of the other things. So, I'm generally not one to be like into causes, hashtag causes anyway.
No.
So I don't really care about that kind of stuff. So I was actively against watching that show because of it as feminist undertones.
Stigma around it.
And so I started watching it because I was like, all right, fine. You said it was good. We'll start watching it. And honestly, the first four seasons, actually, when it got in halfway through 4, it actually was very conservative, pro-family, pro-birth, pro-kid, pro-life, very pro-life, it had very traditional values.
It shocks
kind of thing.
you.
So it was not a very left-wing show at all.
Not at all.
It actually kind of it was a liberal as in they believed in that they pushed freedom and equality and you should be able to do what you want to do, and the regime that they're living under in the show is very oppressive. So it's liberal in that sense, but the values that they're trying to hold are very pro-family. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, this is not exactly
in today's climate. It's really rare.
And then at some point they had to start getting their little digs in, and I feel like every show is like that. I've said this before. Is like you either end a good show or you run too long and turn into a woke piece of trash.
Yes,
right. I feel like Handmaid's Tale is getting to that point, but it hasn't quite. I think they're stabilizing okay right now. So you told me about that show. I watched it, and I know it's a good show because there was a couple scenes in that got me, and I was like,
oh, yeah.
I was like,
it's an
I
emotion.
didn't go full on like Wheat Fest, and I didn't turn into a puddle.
It hits,
but it hits. I'm like, oh shit!
You get involved with these characters,
so you know it's good. So I did the same thing to you. I was like, you got to watch this show, bro. Yeah. And to me, this show is like the grandfather of all high concept, hour-long mystery shows.
Yep.
That kind of started. It was the grandfather. You wouldn't have a Game of Thrones without Lost, and that's what it was.
So that's a good segue into it. Yeah. So and I don't know what triggered it. We usually talk about movies and television daily. Something was said, and I was like, I think you made a reference to Lost. And I was like, I've never sat and watched that ever. Yeah. And I've watched The Fringe. Like I was the same, it's J.J. Abrams. And you're like, you have to watch it. And it's 2006. And I was like, I'm taking the plunge. Because right now there's not a whole lot of like heavy hitter shows that are, I'm watching some, but there's nothing that's out that I can binge right now. So this is actually yesterday I finished it. So I had 3 weeks. I wrapped up right in 2.5, 3 weeks. I wrapped up 6 seasons of Lost.
That's a lot of episodes. How many episodes was it total?
I don't know.
It was like
I can tally it up. It's
well
50,
over 100. Maybe
75. 75. First 3 seasons are 75.
Right.
Season 4 is 19, 14, and then 19 again, I believe.
So probably 125 minimum.
Yeah, at 45 minutes apiece.
Right.
I'm not trying to brag, but I was really committed.
I know you were watching me at work. Then when you got home.
I watched them as I was shaving, and then I turned them off when I got home with the family, and then I fired them back up after I went to sleep. Right. So, if you've never seen it, which I knew it was a cultural phenomenon because I heard about it because it came out when I was a sophomore in high school. So I knew it was big, and I knew it was good.
Yeah.
But I just never took the plunge.
Right.
So I finally did, and I will say the first episode immediately I was hooked, like. They established these characters that you like, and it was funny as even you saw me do it. It was a character I hated. Like I was like, I hope he's stabbed to death multiple times. I'm praying for his death, and he ended up being one of my favorite characters, like mid-season. So, but I've watched a lot of sci-fi stuff, but you can see how it was a gateway drug, segued into all these incredible shows we watch now. Like Lost was like the anchor for all those other shows. Like it has incredible casting, amazing, crazy fucking story, and you grow attached to every character, even the bad ones. You form an attachment to an entire ensemble of characters and I didn't know a lot of them. Like I've seen some in reference, but you got to figure when Lost ended, it was like Game of Thrones. When it was done, it was done. Like everyone kind of put their coat over it and just left it.
Right.
It's never really referenced, but as you watch it, there's little things that you see in other movies that reference Lost.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say, as far as sitting and watching it without breaking, like the whole back to back, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Probably one of the best shows I've ever watched. And there was moments too, like you were talking about Handmaid's Tale, like where I was emotionally attached, where I was like, Like last night, I finished it. 2 last episodes, like I had tears in my face. Like, and I'm not a crier. I think crying makes you weak. For me, I feel weak when I cry, but
I don't think crying is not something that a man should indulge in. Like if it happens,
I'm due for one. We've
fine.
talked about this before. I'm due for one, but this one I got choked up because you're so invested, and that's when you know it's good TV. That's when I know this is good writing. And there wasn't a lull in any of the seasons. Like if you've never watched Lost and you want to commit to it, it's on Hulu. There's not a bad season. There's not bad episodes. It's all good, and there's a main story undertone. Like there's a main story, but then there's like these small segue of like serpentine stories all interlaced in this one perfectly strand of television DNA. It's amazing. Like I was really blown away. It's a wild fucking ride. 9 out of 10. The only reason I didn't give it a 10 is because I forget I said it too earlier. I even took notes during my whole goal because you had seen it and guys we work with had already seen it. And I was like, don't, and I didn't look up any spoilers. Like, don't ruin any of this for me. I took 3 pages of notes.
Right.
And I would write down things that I found out in like...
It's like you were taking a college course.
It really was. It was like an actual class where I was trying to piece together. I was like, I want to solve this mystery of this before the show's over.
Yeah,
there was some things that I picked out.
What it's about.
But I was pleasantly surprised that it's nice watching a show that the shows we watch today, we're always wanting this big dramatic, climatic ending.
Right.
But it didn't have one.
Right.
It was subtle and super just appropriate to the story. Like it was nice because in this show in Lost,
it was satisfying.
It
wasn't like it was definitely controversial, and you can understand how
I
some people didn't.
I could see if you didn't like if I had waited, like if I didn't binge it and I had waited, like watched
6
it weekly,
years like we did. Yeah,
I would probably my opinion might be different. But then after the dust settled, I'd come back to it.
Yeah, it wasn't a giant payoff. It wasn't like you get to the end and you get this like huge exposition.
No, and they almost they kind of tease you a little bit like it's going to be,
subtle
and then you plateau out, and then you kind of just like settle. It's almost like I was eating this massive dinner and I was starving. I mean, and all of a sudden, like the ending, you think like, oh, this is gonna be terrible, and then you just relax into it. Like it's a relaxing, good ending.
I think because you binged it, it's like you said, it was like watching a 125-hour movie. It's like what it was.
That's what it was like.
And so, in a normal movie format, is you have your exposition, you have the build up. I forgot it's called something's triangle, Traylon's triangle or some shit. But it's exposition. I'm doing on my hands the kind of like the level of excitement that's happening on screen. Is it kind of comes in flat as exposition, so you're getting set up with the story, and then it has the build up, and excitement is building up as you're progressing in the story.
Is that a crescendo?
Crescendo, right? And then at the peak, at the very tip, you have the climax, and then you come down, which is the I forgot what that's called.
A limp dick.
A limp dick in the series.
Warm lettuce.
And then it ends, right? And so the you start off at a higher note than whenever you started, but the climax is even higher. And I feel like since you binged the whole show, the climax was probably more like end of season 5, and season 6 was kind of, or maybe somewhere in the middle of 6, and where it kind of like the last few episodes there, you just kind of were actually like a really long ending to where it kind of just tied everything off. And I think that's the reason why people were upset by it, because they were expecting seasons at the end of the show, last episode of season 6 to be this fucking massive revelation, and I think that's the reason people were upset by it.
And even being the series finale, it was still 43 minutes long. And I think the way you said it, or the way you just put it, was season 5 was crazy. Season 6 had its moments too, but it was really just like the culmination of these 5 seasons. Like and what's cool is
it just took a few episodes to do it.
And you referenced it earlier when you said that either shows end great or they stretch it to where it gets silly and it feels like it's like this small portion of people is pulling the show. That's like, this is for us,
right? And you're like, you got it.
But this one ended 6 seasons.
They're just trying to squeeze the pennies out of it at that point.
6 seasons was perfect.
Right.
I would not want another season. No. I don't want a spinoff. Right. I want Lost to stay the way it has been, Lost, if you will, like Lost in itself, because it's like one of the best shows I've ever seen.
It's like Walking Dead was a great show. I mean, it was a phenomenon.
I got through 5 seasons of it.
It's gone on. It's finally done. The main one is over, but they stretched it too long. They should have ended a lot longer ago. Whenever the main can't remember his fucking name now. Andrew Lincoln. Whenever he left the show, that's when it should have ended.
And
it's the same thing with The Office. Whenever Michael Scott was gone, that's it. End it.
Well, I will say in defense of The Office, when he left and Will Ferrell came in for a little bit, and then
Robert California was great.
He was cool, and then Idris Elba came in for a few episodes, but
Andy just couldn't carry it.
The series finale of that show though was great.
Yeah, that's true.
The way they ended it, and it was 9 seasons.
Yeah, it was a good nostalgia hit and everything like that. But the show just wasn't the same, and so the shows need to do better about. But these studios, man, they just want to fucking.
But what I do like about Lost, and it wasn't on a major streaming platform at the time. It was on live television or whatever.
Yeah, broadcast TV.
Thank you. Yeah, and what's crazy though is 2006, and it ran from. I guess, what was that? 2012, I guess it ended up.
Something like that.
So, but there's no political undertone. There's no any what do you call it? Social justice shit. It's just great television.
Well, that's because Donald Trump wasn't president at the time, and Donald Trump broke so many people's brains.
Yeah.
That they felt like I really do think if somebody was like watching, someone like popped out of a bunker and they've been under a bunker for 30 years, and then they started catching up on all the TV, you could I guarantee you could clearly see 2015, 2016, whenever he started running and he became president the entire time, a shift where everybody who made a show was like, I've got to inject my politics into this to fight the power. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Put it to the people.
Guarantee it.
Or stuff to the man.
Now there's always been a place for that, but it feels like now everybody has to put their little 2 cents, their political 2 cents in every fucking thing all the time. So whenever you don't see it, it's like refreshing. You're like, oh shit. Like the Terminal List was awesome because it was so not woke. It wasn't uber conservative, but it was just trying to be a good show.
That's what it was.
You know what I mean? And that's what it was.
That's what it was.
And it was a good show because they weren't trying to preach at you. And I can guarantee you, about that time period is when it happened, is that everybody felt like all these showrunners and all these actors and all these directors and everybody else, they felt like, well, I've got this platform. I have a voice. I have to do something. And so they put it into their art, and it turns out to be shit art.
Yeah, it's everyone. I want to get my narrative out.
Correct.
I'm like, do you ever think maybe you're just a shitty storyteller and nobody gives a shit what you have to say?
Right. Save that fucking crap for Twitter.
Honestly. Or save it for your Facebook group.
Or just keep it to your fucking self.
Or keep it to yourself. Go away.
Exactly. If people, artists these days, I think we are finally getting back to it because we were far removed from Donald Trump. The left, in my opinion, can't fucking help themselves. It's the same reason. It's the reason why. There's a reason why Christian movies. If you've ever seen a Christian movie where it's made by like a Christian studio, and they fucking suck. They all suck. Have you ever seen any that are like a overtly Christian movie where they have a Christian message and everything?
The last one I saw was that one with
like with anything with Kirk Cameron these days. You know what I'm talking about? Or The Chosen, or not Passion of the Christ, because that was actually trying to tell a historical story.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'll just say I know what you're talking about, but I can't think on top of my head. But I know. But
you've seen them maybe on social on streaming services, but you like skip because they suck.
Okay, you're talking about like how the Daily Wire does their own movies, but this would be like
something like
got
that.
It.
Well, and to the Daily Wire's credit,
their shit's good.
One of the guys that's on the Daily Wire, his name is Andrew Klavan. He actually was a screenwriter, and he actually wrote.
I knew Andrew Klavan.
Do you remember that? You remember that movie? I'll Never Tell, or no, not. I'll Never Lie, or something. It was with Brittany Murphy, and she was like that crazy chick in the mental institution, and she was like, "I'll never tell."
Oh,
you remember that shit?
That movie was fucked up.
It was fucked up, right? It had Sean Bean in it. It was really fucked up.
Oh, look that up.
That was a book that he wrote, and he turned into a screenplay. That's him. So he was actually in Hollywood a big time, and he says this all the time. He says movies that are made by conservatives or made by Christians fucking suck. He says that. He says that would not fucking, but he says they're terrible.
Don't say a word.
Don't say a word.
Is that Kurt
Who was the main guy?
Hold on, I'll tell you.
John Cusack?
No, maybe? Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas.
Brittany Murphy, Sean Bean. You were right.
Yep. So Andrew Klavan, he wrote a book. They adapted his book into this movie. I think he was a screenwriter for it too. So it's Andrew Klavan did it, and now he's on.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's a pretty good show.
No, this movie is a movie good.
Or movie, yeah, it's a good movie.
All right, let's look into that.
Yeah, it's also one of the ones where the joke was Sean Bean dies in every movie, and this one he dies by having like a bunch of dirt collapse on him. He gets buried alive. It's crazy. But Joe, have you ever seen that? Sean Bean's like died in like every movie or show he's ever been.
He was
in.
He didn't die in Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, see, there's some that he has not. Correct. Well, if they would have had a sequel, he probably would have. But anyway, like I was saying, is Clavin would say this thing. He was like, art just needs to be good. You just need to make a good story. Yeah. Stop trying to focus on it being, a message that's political in nature. And so that's the reason why Christian movies generally suck, because they're not making good art. And a lot of Christians tend to shy away from like the sexual things and how people really are. They try to like gloss it over and sugarcoat it and like, oh, we're making a Christian movie. We can't say fuck. Are you like? But we live in the real world. People say fuck.
Yeah, I believe in God. And
right. And if you're trying to tell a story about humans, about human beings, and it is even a religious story about human beings, you have to tell it like how human beings are.
Be realistic.
Be realistic. Stop trying to like it turns the Christian and the Christian religion into this character cartoony kind of thing, and I'm not into that kind of stuff. And Clavin is like, look, if you're going to make a Christian movie, you can have one that has a message about Christian values, but it has to be good art first.
Yes.
Right? You have to, if you want to talk about sex from a Christian perspective, sex is intimate and it's vulgar in a lot of ways. Yeah. You've got to depict it like it actually is. You know what I mean? Not saying you got to fucking Christians need to make porn movies or anything like that, but you know what I'm saying? That would be fucking weird. I think the Catholic Church tried to that.
That's once, like that kid that made that. That's like that kid that made that music video for the Cha-Cha Slide. Take a step on faith.
Right.
Like that weird.
Yes, like that. It just turns weird. So cringy. Oh. Stomp one for the Lord. Right, exactly. You're like, ugh.
Like turn it off.
Like you didn't make so it's the Cha-Cha Slide or whatever that is. It's like you made the Cha-Cha Slide worse and you made Christianity worse. You did nothing of value.
Right.
You made them both worse.
You made a great, hilarious
You should have just
video.
done nothing and it both would have been okay.
Yeah.
That's the reason why that most people don't like Christian movies, except for like the uber Christians, the ones that are like hashtag Christians, I guess.
Yeah.
To where they're like, they feel like they have to watch this movie because they're obligated. Like,
yes,
it's a Christian movie. I have to watch it. Otherwise, God's looking. Like, it's a shitty movie. I mean, just say it is what it is.
Yep.
I'd much rather watch Game of Thrones where there's like incest actively going on than a shitty Christian movie.
Yeah, because his aunt was hot.
Like, it's awesome. It's got dragons and killing people.
Like there's, anytime you do those movies that have like an actual narrative that's trying to be pushed on them, like that. What was that one that we just talked about today that got really shitty reviews? They were upset about Bros.
Yeah,
like the gay rom-com.
My whole point with all of that is like everyone knows that Christian movies and overtly conservative, when they're trying to like, say that this is a conservative movie, they're trying to make a point of it. Everybody knows they suck. The left does it too. This is my whole point. And you know that it sucks. So stop trying to wokeify everything and just make a fucking good movie. Everybody on both sides of the aisle.
Remember, it's for entertainment.
We're here to be entertained.
That's it. And we want to escape reality.
Right. You can make commentary on and you can depict reality in your art, but it still has to be good. Yeah. Stop trying to take your art and I don't know, preach at everybody. It really is what it is.
You're right. Everybody feels obligated.
And, Bros, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about it earlier. That movie fucking bombed, and everyone is like trying to tell you why it bombed, and it's real simple. It's really simple. Is rom-coms are generally for if you have if you're making a rom-com. First of all, who the fuck is going to go see a rom-com in this day and age in the theater? Then when there's so much shit because you're Nicholas Sparks.
Sorry, I will go see a rom-com.
But I'm talking about 5 years ago, sure. But now, especially post-COVID, there's so much stuff on streaming. Why would you go to theater to watch a rom-com? Most people, whenever they say they're going to go out on a Friday night, they're going to be like, what do you want to go see? When we get excited to go see something, it's because we have to see it right then. And what is it? It's a Marvel movie. It's some big action thing. We're not even really going to see comedies that much anymore in theater. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be a big tentpole event for me to go see it in theaters. Rom-coms are just not up that list. Everyone in their mind is like, well, I'll just wait till that comes out on Netflix because it will in like 3 months.
Yeah, well,
so they just wait. And so first of all, right out of the gate, that's the reason why that movie should never even been in theaters, because it should have just gone to a streaming platform. You were not going to have $100 million weekend on a fucking rom-com. It doesn't matter even if it had Matthew McConaughey in it. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, rom-coms have and comedies and everything else have taken a dip in theater attendance.
Yes,
because people are just like, well, it'll be out in 3 months. It's not a must-watch thing.
That's correct.
Not like a Marvel or big action like Top Gun or something like that, right? It's already on bad footing right there. And then number 2 is, who the fuck was this movie made for? Straight dudes are not generally going to go sit there for 2 hours and watch a bunch of dudes make out. And apparently there's a bunch of graphic sex scenes in it and all this other kind of stuff. I'm sorry, but reality is straight dudes are just not into that. The reason why we generally go watch rom-coms is because the chick is hot.
Well,
or it's got a comedy actor that we like.
Yeah, or, I mean, it's funny you say that, like, because with what you said, like, excessive, like, scenes and stuff, and there's heterosexual scenes in some of these, but most time rom-coms are not filled with that kind of stuff. That's not why I watch them.
Well, even not necessarily the vulgarity of it, but just I don't want to see it. Straight dudes don't really want to watch 2 dudes make out.
No, I don't want to.
Let's just be real. That's just, and
honestly, I like the show, and kind of like the show Will and Grace, but they don't do that.
Correct.
And it's 2 gay dudes.
Someone brought that up, was that the reason why Bros bombed is because it just sucked.
It's not
what
good.
It was. It wasn't good.
I saw the preview and I was like,
because
gay aside, it just doesn't look
Mountain
good.
actually has a pretty
that got an Academy Award.
It has an Academy Award. It actually has a pretty graphic sex scene in it between 2 dudes.
No more veins.
Yeah, right. I just wish I knew how to quit you. But anyway, and it made like $100-something million.
Yes,
because it was a good. Good movie.
But you didn't know by the preview. You didn't know what you were getting into.
Well, you knew it was 2 gay dudes.
I didn't know that.
Cowboys.
I didn't know that at first because they had people walk out of the theater when I.
Well, yeah. I mean, some people. Yeah.
You did. It wasn't as advertised. That wasn't the importance of.
True. The marketing wasn't. Hey, this is 2 gay cowboys that get it on intent. Come watch this movie,
and then have some.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like here's a story about 2 cowboys with a complicated relationship. Those, I guess, would be the marketing for it.
Thanks.
So you're sure. Some people didn't know, and you're probably right. But this one was actually like marketed as, hey, this is a gay rom-com. Go see it.
Yeah.
And what audience were you looking for? Because straight dudes were not really keen. If they had a choice between that and Predator, they're going to go fucking see Predator.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You're already
so who's your audience? So you've already thinned off. There's 50% of your audience, potential demographic, gone out the window. 50% right there. And then women, gay or straight. Women watch rom-coms. Straight women watch rom-coms because they want to put themselves in that situation in where the guy gets the girl, meet the girl, meet cute and all that kind of shit, and they get together. Will they get together? Will they won't get together? The whole drama with that between men and women is the reason why women go watch it. So the primary demographic for rom-coms is women, right? And so this has a bunch of dudes. So it's not appealing to straight women. It's not appealing to gay women either because it's a bunch of gay dudes. Like they would.
There's only a few. There's lesbians in there that go there. They're friends.
Yeah, but the story is about it's bros. It's not girls, right? It's bros. So there you go. That's that demographic gone. So who's left? It's gay men, and they're a smaller segment of the population. So that's the reason it only made for something. That's why it's going to bomb.
And then I went to, which I know you're not a fan of, Rotten Tomatoes.
It's just math. It has nothing to do with bigotry or anything. It's just
simple numbers,
demographic facts.
Yeah. So I went on Rotten Tomatoes to look at it. So Google reviews were 37% audience liked, 37%,
and it's also just a shit movie.
Now, of course, Rotten Tomatoes, if you're not familiar with it, it's a review site for films, but it's very like, is it Academy worthy? Mm. This is very like left wing movie reviewers from the West Coast, whatever.
Yeah, all the critics are pretty much left.
They give it like a 90%, and the audience even gave it a 90%. But Google Reviews has more reviews on it, and it's 37%.
Yeah, right.
So, but like you said, like I have no interest in it whatsoever. But even by the preview, gay thing aside, it didn't look good. It just, to me, it looked like a knockoff that literally they probably would have been more successful with if they would have put it on a LGBT plus Alphabet Soup streaming platform.
They should have put it on streaming is what they should have done. And the other thing to your point about it not being appealing is because you didn't know anybody in it.
I didn't know anybody
You can't name one fucking actor.
Person.
The only one that I knew was the guy that made it was Billy Eichner, just because I've heard of him before.
And
and
somebody
other stuff.
said that it was almost a flex for him in the film. Like,
Pretty much.
Like, this is me. And
here's,
right.
And here's where like, quote, diversity and representation goes wrong. Because one of the things that they talked about when making this movie and doing the promo for it was that they emphasized the fact, and they were like bragging about the fact that it was everybody in it was gay, everybody that made it was gay, or in the alphabet soup of LGBT plus whatever the fuck. There was like literally no straight people involved in the making or filming or whatever this movie, as they would say. There may be some straight people, but I'm just saying it was primarily 95%. Everybody involved in this movie was gay or on the LGBT alphabet soup thing, whatever. Well, when you do that, again, that's fine if you want to do that, but you're automatically saying that the talent pool that I'm going to be choosing from to make this movie that cost $25 million to make, and so I need to make it, and plus I think it was like $30 million on marketing, so I need to make $50 million just to break even.
Yep.
And so the talent pool in order to make this movie that I'm going to dip into is already tiny.
Yeah, and you can't pull a straight A-list actor to come play a game because of the
authenticity
of it.
Because I've already made this commitment that it has to be all gay characters.
So you've already
gay people,
already
gay actors to play gay characters, or even straight characters, whatever. And the thing is the weird thing is that there's even a lot of really good gay actors that are fucking fantastic. I'm trying to think of one right now. He was in The Sinner, the latest season of The Sinner. Matt Bomer. Fantastic actor.
He's been in all the
He was in Suits, I think is what
mother bitch. What is the name of that? It's like 11 seasons of it. I just watched it. American Horror Story.
Yeah, right.
He's great in all those.
Zachary Quinto is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And he's a good actor. But they didn't get any of them. They because if you decide, and that's the reason, here's where trying to have diversity and representation goes wrong, is if you just try to make a good fucking movie with good actors to play characters, because the whole point of an actor is they're playing pretend. They don't need to be gay to play a gay character, and vice versa, right? So it's so stupid that you want to do that. So he didn't want to make a good movie. He wanted to make a statement.
That's it. That's all it is.
And when you're making a statement, you get $4 million back in the box office.
We needed this movie.
Right.
They needed this movie. No, they didn't.
Right.
You just shot yourself in the foot.
Right. It's so good to see. Yeah, they always do that, where they're like, "Oh, it's so good to have a movie that represents." I'm like, okay, cool.
It's representing
still
you shitty.
It's still shitty.
It's not a good representation.
I don't have to like it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, speaking of a political undertone or a narrative in your shows. A guy who worked sent us an article today, a video about Rings of Power that we've mentioned before, how shitty it is. Except for this last episode, kind of a little bit. And I read an article today about the showrunners defending it, how they got so much pushback. Mm-hmm. He sent the video, and one of the things he brought up, which I didn't even think about, which made total sense, is he said, this guy brought up a good point, how in this show, there is no cultural separation amongst these places in this world. And I was thinking stuff like, it's kind of right. He's like, because he said, if you think about it, if you watch like Game of Thrones, for example, House of Dragon, up north, people are more pale-skinned and look different than people of the south.
Because they get no sun up there.
In this new Rings of Power there is no cultural diversity amongst...
Correct.
Everyone looks like literally you took them up in a giant net, shook it, and then dumped them back out.
Yes.
I didn't think about that until he said it. And I was like, that's a really good point, because there isn't. Like, obviously, in that world, you're separated by months of travel. So you would look different.
Right.
And there is none.
Well, and we're talking
about... If you want to create diversity in a way, like, okay, well,
I think it's because, and I think people in America just don't understand this. I think it's because we have lived in a culture and in even Western societies in general, not just America, just Western cultures, to where we're a melting pot of different ethnicities, and it's a great thing. But I think that we kind of forget that this is the outlier. This is not the norm. Throughout human history, cultures have been separated from each other, and people that look a certain way. If you look at Arab descent, you're going to be in Arab areas. You're not generally going to be in Scandinavia. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's how it's been throughout human history. The period that we're living in right now in the West is the abnormal. This is not normal. It's a good thing. So we do need to have a mixing of the cultures. I think it's a good thing. But there's still lots of parts of the world to where, like I mentioned, Arab. There are not a whole lot of white people in Iran. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, right.
Or Saudi Arabia or whatever. The only ones that are business people.
And that's what I'm getting at. And that's putting it in real world perspective.
Right. So if you look at House of Rings of Power, you're exactly right. I never even thought about this. So whenever you're looking at, like, say, Numenor or whatever, that island.
Yeah.
Everyone on that island, they're on a fucking island, for fuck's sake. They should all look pretty much the same.
And they don't.
But you look at it and you look at, well, there's clearly a mix of cultures here, right? But it doesn't make sense. But then you go to House of the Dragon, and all the Valyri people from Old Valyria, you have the Targaryens, they have that white hair, they're pale complected. You have the Valyrians, they have white hair with the dreads, and they're black complected.
Yep.
Clearly, you can see that these are two different
peoples. And then you can see that certain families too, like the Hightowers are more brunette,
right,
fair skinned, and then if Game of Thrones was the people of Dorne were more Arabic looking,
right, and you knew that these were Dornish, and you knew that these were Valyrian. It wasn't like you had some redhead ginger dude coming out like, I'm from Old Valyria, and you're like, no, you're not, no, you're not,
you fuck, like it doesn't, yeah. So and like I said that,
and if you're talking about a show or a movie that is a quote, technically a period piece where it's about, not modern times, even though you had dragons, fantasy, and you got dragons and shit like that or whatever. But still, the setting is in a medieval period. It is in a time in the past. They didn't have a melting pot cultures like we do now. And so if you're trying to tell a story, even if it's a fantasy story, set in that medieval kind of aesthetic, the characters got to look that way too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I was the two showrunners. This long interview they did with trying to defend their show. And they were like, well, some of the negative is from trolls. I'm like, no. The majority of this, because they got like a 37% approval rating. It was like, no, this is fans because your shit sucks.
Yeah.
Like, now granted, they did say that this last episode was higher in ratings than all the others.
I even said it was better.
You did. And I watched it and then went back and kind of picked some stuff out. I was like, okay, it actually is. So talking to them, their whole thing was, we plan on making it bigger and better from here going also into season 2, because now they know, I think, and I would hope common sense would be like, it hasn't worked for these first several episodes. In 6, if I was looking at like for our episodes, for example, if I saw where one was doing better, I'm like, okay, let's gravitate more towards what we did in this one to make the other ones better.
Right.
So hopefully by doing that, these guys have now seen like, okay, this is shit writing in the beginning. Let's now's our chance.
Right.
Because they still, and I will say, they have and we've talked about the show, there is potential there with it even being a
Lord of the Rings,
knockoff.
for fuck's sake. Yeah.
There is a potential there to really make something incredible. They have the production value. They just need to. There's a lot of tweak that needs to be done.
It's the writing and mostly, and it's some of the decisions they've made on casting. and the because I remember before it came out, I told you that you were more excited about it than I was.
I was
because I had seen some people make some comments about some of the press that the actors were doing and the showrunners were doing, and they would make statements about talking about how we wanted to make a story that's in Tolkien's world, but reflected our reality. And I was like, no, I don't want to fucking watch a show
that reflects
my reality.
Exactly.
That mimics and reflects the world that we live in. So that's the reason we're going to have like a gay black elf or whatever. And you're like, okay, if that's your goal, which is fine, if that's your goal, then that's what you're focusing on, then you're not focusing on what's important. And what's important is making a compelling story with a fully fleshed out character that makes sense in that world. That's what your focus should be.
Yeah.
Focus should not be the skin color of the fucking actors. I'm sorry. If that's your goal, you're doing it wrong.
Yep, that should be the bottom of the list.
That should be honestly. It's crazy that we've got to this point to where everyone's so fucking focused on your skin color to where it's like the first thing that they have to check off.
Yep.
Before they do anything
They'll
else.
sacrifice that entire role.
Yes.
And shitty writing just for that one reason.
Right. Exactly. That's what, my point about like the bros casting is like, why would you diminish your talent pool like that?
Yeah.
Like if you want to have a diverse cast, that's fine, but keep your net open and allow everybody to have the chance to do it, right? To the elves is the perfect example. I would be okay with I can't remember that fucking character's name. He's the
not Anadar. It's
Andir or whatever the fuck his name is. He's the
Crew Cut.
Right, Crew Cut. Here's the problem with that character: it's not necessarily that he's black; it's that he's literally the fucking only one.
And yeah, he doesn't
like if
fit.
they wanted to portray that there was a different kind of tribe or sect of elves that were from a different land, but they were still elves.
Makes sense.
That's fine. And then also he has a fucking crew cut. All the other elves have either long hair or they got the little curly bob thing going on.
That's the insurance salesman cut.
And then I hate that fucking character too because he looks like he's going to sell me a dictionary.
Yep, I know. We've talked about that before. How
Celebrimbor.
Yep,
the fucking Smith. It's that kind of shit is like what the I don't know how anybody. The reason why they didn't notice that is because they were so focused on the diversity of the cast that they didn't realize, like, hold on a second, this dude fucking looks like an insurance salesman, and why is he literally the only elf that has a crew cut?
Yes, I picked up on it as soon as I watched it.
Immediately.
As soon as I watched it, I was like, ugh.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because, the thing is that here's the thing they don't understand about this is like, yeah, congratulations, you've met your racial and LGBTQ plus quotas. Congratulations. Whenever I see that character, and it's already kind of a shitty character anyway, it takes me out of that world because he doesn't look like he fits. He sticks out like a sore thumb.
Exactly.
And so now I'm focused on the race of the character when I shouldn't.
Yep. I immediately have a bad taste.
Or the way he looks, or his fucking hair, or like Celebrimbor is probably the whitest dude on the whole fucking show, and he's got like he's got that haircut from We're the Millers, where he's like I need a haircut that says I drive an hour to my shitty job where I lick my boss's balls all day, and then I come home to ungrateful.
Let's pull that clip.
Yeah, pull that clip up.
Pull that clip.
Pull that clip up. You have yours connected?
Of course I do. Okay. Yeah, I want to pull that clip because now
we have a serious operation going on.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Pull that clip because I love that fucking clip. But he has that fucking haircut.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny as it comes up as the second most searched thing.
It's for We're the Millers.
Make sure there's not.
The other one's probably when the spider bites his ball sack. It's probably the other one. That's pretty funny.
Get rid of the advertisements. I don't want to hear that shit.
We're going to listen to it.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings,
so I'm turning getting some free ad airtime.
So Casey, I guess it's nice for you to get your haircut. I mean, being homeless and all, I guess.
Yeah, so this is Jason Sudeikis' character.
Shut up, okay?
It's a pothead.
Right, I don't need to hear your hard luck backstory right now.
Trying to impersonate kind of a family.
And I just watched Hall Pass.
And so he's going to get a haircut to fit the role of like average American dad.
Go buy yourself some new clothes. The kind of stuff that loved children wear, not this garbage. All right? Thank you. Whoa. Stop. Kenny, you're fine. You're like a total dipshit.
You look like a total dipshit.
Right. You're gonna need it. You look like Eminem from 8 Mile.
Dude, have you seen him where he's gonna be playing?
He's big.
Adam.
He's
it's gonna be crazy.
He buffed up big time.
David Clark. Okay.
What
are we doing today?
Yeah, I say, give me some that says I get up every morning at 5:30 and commute for an hour and a half to some bullshit job. Or my jag-off boss expects me to kiss his balls all day just so I can afford to keep my ungrateful screaming kids decked out and Dora the Explorer shit and my wife up to her fat ass in self-help videos until the day I get up the courage to put a shotgun in my mouth. Right here. Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. That guy in the back, he was like, he just described my entire life.
He was like, right here.
That character in Rings of Power has that fucking haircut. It's crazy.
I do like it when he says that. Right here. No shame, didn't even flinch.
Yeah, dude.
This is the one.
So if anybody ever listens to or watches Rings of Power and you see Celebrimbor, that character, come back on screen, that's what you're going to think of.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, it makes no sense.
Actually, the moral of the story is just watch Lost.
Yes.
If you've never watched Lost,
Do good shit.
watch Lost. Blessed be the fruit. Watch
May the
fucking
Lord
Handmaid's
open.
Tale. May the Lord open. It's fucking good.
have to go back.
We have to go back. Dude, I was like that, man.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck. And it rom-commed hard there at the end, dude. I was
it
an
did.
emotional wreck.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they were like finding each other, like the Magdas with their hands. I'm like, oh, I want that too.
My favorite part of watching you watch that show was binging it like you did. Is that you would tell me is like I fucking hate Sawyer.
I do.
Character.
I fucking
He's
hate
such
him.
a douchebag, and you were like,
For
why
no
is he
reason.
being such a dick? And you hated his whole swagger and
I
everything.
dreamed about him getting killed every episode.
Right, and then by the end of it, you're like, oh, he's cool.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, I love you, Sawyer.
And
Like,
everybody was like that.
and then, yeah, he was just became the guy. Like, you're like,
Right.
his whole thing made so much sense.
He had a pretty good character.
He was only like realistic. Like, his development was perfect.
Right.
Actually, everybody was. Like,
Yeah.
there was no bad characters. Like, there really isn't. There's not a bad character in that.
Right.
I liked all of it.
They're all very good. But
It's great.
But yeah, so yeah, the moral of the story, yeah, like I said, is watch these shows we're talking about. Don't watch the shows that we told you not to watch, and our opinions are always correct. It's the moral of the story.
I really like how you did that. Really ends it to a good. I like it.
Well, I guess we can end this shit. We're at about an hour and a half.
Yeah. Don't forget, guys, like, share, subscribe.
Yep.
Also, I've made the post on our Facebook page. I'm taking this break off social media, but still send us messages, because, it's hard to totally get off of it if I have a page. Like, so I may dabble back on the Facebook, just the...
Yeah, and we didn't mention that, but because we talked about it, is that even though we're off social media, I think this will actually help. We're not scrolling through social media for our own personal reasons. That I feel like we can actually focus more on the social media aspect of the podcast.
Yeah, so
we can. I think this throw
we'll
social media
navigate
approach,
it,
will be a lot better. We're going to be more. We're going to be better about it.
But I've made posts, and I know I've spoke to a couple of people that have listened to it. We're trying to make some changes here in the future to our platform for our show. So we'll be making some content changes, I think, and try to do things a little differently to try to make things better, obviously, to improve the show.
Right.
So if I do make a post that says if you have topics you want to talk about, you can don't be afraid to post stuff. Like it's not a huge deal. Like it could be anything. If you wanted to go over cheese breads or restaurants or anything political, we'll do it. Like we will talk about whatever. If you want us to talk about recent political things on the news or anything, we will talk about it. I'm not
right. We'll give our take.
We'll give our take on it.
We're very opinionated.
Yeah. So
obviously.
Yeah, and then also we'll be mentioned at the beginning was looping in a third person. I think will be beneficial as well to the show. I think that's going to be awesome. So
let us know if you like that, because we've had a couple of people on already, and I've had some good feedback on that.
Yeah,
People
kind
of like to have the third. It kind of just break up the change of pace a little bit. Break up the change of pace. It is a change of pace.
I do have three. I do have three right now that will be able to come on.
Yeah, I've got a handful. I just
I'll schedule. I'll be better about scheduling it.
All right, you'll be our official scheduler.
Yep. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, 10,000 friends. Thanks for listening.
Oh yeah.
This will post.
I usually say peace, y'all, but I kind of want to have a different send off.
What
should our send-off be?
Salutations.
Sayonara, motherfuckers.
That's a little aggressive, but I do like it.
Okay, all right. I kind of like yours. Salutations.
Salutations. Blessed be the fruit.
All right.